Yo, what's good, guys? We're back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my unfiltered opinions about Weekend Classic so far, as well as going over some of the people in the community that I respect their opinions as well on the mode. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. If you want to get into the discourse and give your opinion, the comments are always there for you. So, to kind of give you guys an idea, we are 4-0 on this account. I thought I'd set myself up to not have to play on GOAT, but it looks like I will have to if I want to play those last two games, which I do intend on doing, probably on stream tonight. And then on the budget account, if you don't want to hear this, cover your ears, skip a little bit. We went 5-1 on the budget account. Probably shouldn't have even lost the game that we did lose. Got some decent rewards over there as well. So overall, pretty successful weekend, but that's not changing my opinion of the mode. We could have lost every single game, and I would still feel more or less the same about the mode. So the good, I think this is the best competitive environment that's ever been in the show. There's nothing even really like it. It's kind of like every game is like a 10-0 game in BR, except you're getting to use your ranked team, and it's not 3 innings. And it's kind of like if you've ever saved the World Series run until a couple hours before ranked refreshes. It's kind of like that. Every game really matters. The stakes are big for every single game, at least at the higher divisions. As you go down, it doesn't matter quite as much. But at the higher divisions, like Immortal, like if you were getting those first Immortal wins, you were making a ton because of the glitch pack. So that had even higher stakes. That's obviously a negative with the mode. But every game feels really important, which is awesome. We needed a mode like this, and I think for the most part, it achieved what I hope that it set out to do. Second, rewards were good. So my rewards already were really good. I think I probably made, I want to say easily 200K. We had like 100K. I bought Randy. We got back up to 100K. I bought Randy for like 250. We got back up to 100K. And then I went back and bought like Beltray and some of the other people that I sold to get Randy the first time. So we got our 2 ultras. The Ballins that could have been good. They weren't, but they could have been. 2 Weekend Classic packs. They were like 35, 40K a piece when I got them. And then a 50 bundle with 20,000 stubs. And I haven't even finished my runs. So I think the rewards, at least for Diamond, 100% worth it. 100% worth it. Immortals, even better. And then I think Gold 2 is the one before this. Those were pretty good on the budget account. So overall, I think rewards are a dub. Obviously, the worse your division, the worse your rewards. And the leaderboard is kind of scuffed right now. We'll get into that here in a minute. But I think I'm online for a leaderboard reward on both accounts right now. So that's just kind of the cherry on top. I wouldn't put a ton of stock into leaderboard rewards, which is another thing we'll get into eventually here. I think I like the idea of being able to progress ranks. You know, I like that I was able to make my 1,000 push during Weekend Classic. But in the future, I don't think I want that to be a thing, because now I don't want to play anymore because I'm on GOAT. I thought I'd understood that you would be locked onto the difficulty of your division. So I would be on Legend for all of my games. That was not the case. If you play somebody higher rated than you, you play up to their difficulty. Or if you get to a new tier, like if you were 700 and you made it to 900, you would then be playing on Legend. So I think you can't really have your cake and eat it too. You have to go both ways. Like the difficulties have to change and you have to gain rating, or the difficulty doesn't change and you get no rating for the game. So I think in the future, it probably should be a separate entity, which is a shame. But I think there's just too many moving parts for both to be happening. Final big positive I have is I think the cards that they came out with are really good. I actually will get into a community opinion that they weren't that crazy. I think this Kluber is a top 5 starter in the game, which I think is relatively all you can really ask for out of him. And then I think Correa legitimately has an argument for being the best shortstop. I mean, when you look at how well-rounded he is with being tall, with playing good defense, it's like him and Jimmy Rollins. I don't really think anybody else is close. And Correa blows Rollins out of the water in everything other than speed and just the fact that Rollins is a switch hitter. So I think the rewards, just card-wise, were really good, but we'll get into a community opinion that they weren't that crazy. The bad, unfortunately, it's gonna sound like there's a lot of bad. I still think just having the mode is better than all of the bad stuff that comes with having the mode. I will take it in stride for us to have this mode. Servers. I've been saying servers are bad. Now everybody wants to say servers are bad. I'm the OG. When stuff's on the line, people want to say the servers are bad. But before that, you didn't hear it a ton. It's cool. I mean, servers suck. We've known that. They need to get off peer-to-peer. For years, it's a ridiculous system to have in 2025 going into 2026. So hopefully, eventually, we'll see some dedicated servers for the game so we can actually get some consistency. Because being on GOAT now, I can attest, there's a lot of difference between being on GOAT in a perfect offline server against the CPU as opposed to being on GOAT against another player who's lagging. So it's not a fun experience whatsoever. But the servers, I've been known, they're bad. Next up, matchmaking. Even people that haven't manipulated their rank, which we'll get to here in a minute, trust me, you're still seeing bad matchmaking. Brenton, very good player, grinds the game a ridiculous amount. He matched up with a 100 rated player. So somebody that might be 100 rating is what? Like you could be 1 and 100 because you don't lose rating for losing there. So he might have legitimately matched up with one of the worst players on the game during an immortal run. I don't even know how that's possible. But clearly there's something weird going on with the matchmaking. So I think that's kind of an issue. Another thing I have for bad is the difficulty changing during the run. Like I said, you can't really have people's ranks progress and the difficulty not change, or else you'll end up with all-star players who made it to World Series just by playing on all-star. So can't really have that. So I understand why it happens. It's just a little unfortunate, especially for like a player like me. Like I think if you're a Hall of Fame player and you end up on Legend at the end of your run, it's not a death sentence. If you're like me, where I'm actually pretty comfortable on Legend right now, and you get on GOAT, it is genuinely a coin flip, is what it feels like as to who wins on GOAT. So that's a little unfortunate. I think it hurts your team variety. I think already having sets gone actually hurts the team variety quite a bit. But when you really get in this like make or break environment, you see people want to use the best cards at every position. I think after you make it to like 900 rating, it feels like there's a 50-50 chance that the guy you queue up against is going to have Beltron. And it's just kind of how it is at the higher ranks. You're going to see a lot of the same lineups, especially with the way the game plays and some of the difficulties play. You're going to start to see a lot of the exact same lineups. Once a month, I think it's just not frequent enough. I think it's an amazing mode, and I think it should be implemented how every other sports game does their weekend modes. It's every single weekend, pretty good rewards. You could scale back the rewards. They don't have to be quite as good as they are, because we would probably see some insane stub inflation, especially from top-end players. But it's kind of always been like that. MLB's always been a game where if you're good enough to just walk through flawless runs, you can print stubs. So I also don't hate it. They delayed the mode. It was only for like a couple hours, but it does suck that everybody was really hyped to play the new mode, and there was a countdown timer and everything, and that ends up getting delayed. Clearly, it got delayed for a reason, but it does still suck that the mode did get delayed. Next up, we got glitched leaderboards. I said we would get to this. And I do intend to. So you see, I'm 9th in the leaderboard, but I'm 4-0. The top guy is 16-16. He has somehow gained 300 rating with a split even record. So it's really just about games played. Apparently, losses don't subtract from your elo like they're supposed to. You're only getting credits for the win. So it's really just about how much you play. And like I said, doesn't really matter. The leaderboard rewards aren't that crazy. In Diamond League, like the #1 guy is getting a pretty crazy reward. And in Immortal, it's a pretty crazy reward. But if you're also sitting here and running 32 games, you probably deserve it anyway. So it's whatever. I don't hate the leaderboards. Some people seem to think that the top guys like that won't get paid out. It's just a leaderboard glitch. And SDS kind of has everybody's elo properly calibrated. But we'll see there. And then the final bad thing I have is just the gameplay. I think this is one of the worst gameplay years for the show in a while. So I think that's unfortunate that we have the most competitive mode ever and some of the worst gameplay ever. Just doesn't really mesh well, but hopefully, you know, maybe we get some updates or just, you know, Weekend Classic becomes more prominent and it's in next year's game and next year's a lot better. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. And then we have our ugly section, which is mainly the community or stuff that wasn't meant to happen. You got a lot of people who manipulated their match rating. They got up to like 1,000 rating, 1,000 peak rating, and then tanked themselves down, got up to World Series and tanked to like 400 rated All-Star, as low as you can go, and just quit out of a ton of games. And they pretty much steamrolled and mercied their way to 6-win rewards pretty easily just by beating up on players who are worse than them that they should not be playing. So I think that's really unfortunate that people figured out a way to do that. It's not really SDS's fault because you can't really, most people don't think like that. Like, how can we manipulate that? That's just something that you put the product out and people find a way to manipulate it. So I think in the future, they will probably remedy it. I assume it's like #1 on their Trello board right now on things to fix is that. So hopefully in the future, it'll be gone. And then our final ugly thing, I think, is the glitch rewards. It's not a huge thing. I don't know if anybody from my division really got it because you had to win 2 games and it got fixed pretty quick. But a good amount of people in Immortal went 1-0, got their Weekend Classic packs, and pulled multiple Shohei Ohtanis. So they're set for a while. It didn't tank the market. It didn't really change the market much at all. But I think it does kind of suck that a pack like that was glitched and certain people got to take advantage of it. Others didn't. But you can also argue that they kind of earned it because they're in Immortal and they won their first game. So just some stuff that I wanted to go over. And now we can kind of get to community consensus here. So first up, we have Nutsy here. Mode's really fun. Rewards are awesome. That's pretty much what I said. Smurfing, there's people tanking their elo. Yeah, that's crazy. And then losses not counting on the leaderboard. Again, some people think it's a glitch. We will see kind of how that goes in the future once the leaderboard rewards are actually divvied out. Scan here. He wants it to not be with ranked, which is fine. I don't really know how they will do that because historically they haven't had anything like that. They don't have like your BR rating affects your ranked rating, which affects your events rating. They are all very distinct, separate things. So I think that's a little tricky. I don't know how realistic that is for SDS to implement. We'll have to see. Hardlock divisions with each other. So like if you're diamond, you can only play other diamond players, not in your 100-player group bracket, but more so just all diamonds. So that's fine. I think it would at least guarantee that you end up playing somebody on the same difficulty as you. So like I wouldn't be playing GOAT right now, which I would prefer. Consider making it more frequent. I think there's a lot of issues with it right now, so I don't think that's super realistic right now. But in the future, like bi-weekly or weekly, I think would probably be the best case scenario for the mode. Would be amazing. And then add stakes beyond the first 6 games. I don't like that. I think just having it be 6 is cool. I think it's some of the longer games. I think when you look at like FIFA Foot Champs, that's like 15 games, so they actually scaled theirs back now. And a lot of the top end players, they end up still having like 2-hour runs of it because they just get a ton of rage quits. So I think 6 games is a good sample size. That's enough to run through your entire starting rotation and then to one. So I think from that perspective, I think it's enough games. And then we have the Frosty issue where he's 1700 rating and gets 10 points per win, so he'll never do well on the leaderboard. But he's also not ever going to lose a game. So I don't know. It's just kind of not a super realistic issue for most people. We got Chev, boosters, tankers, 392 runs in 18 games. Yeah. And he checked the other people's, and their elos were in the toilet that he played. So this dude's pretty much going into Immortal games, matching with, I guess, bots or alt accounts, and just walking himself a ton, throwing stuff down the middle, whatever it is, and then backing out if he doesn't match with one of his bots. And he's climbing the ranked leaderboard slowly. So that's not super fun there. Again, these leaderboard rewards, not the biggest deal in the world. If you're not getting number 1, it's not the craziest thing. But J Mills, a little more complete thoughts. Not sure if 6 is the perfect number. Feels like way too much on GOAT because the games are so draining. But on the lower difficulties, it's not enough. So that's just a skill issue thing, where GOAT's really hard for everybody. But if you're really good at the game, then yeah, your Hall of Fame, All-Star, Legend games don't feel super crazy. They just feel like normal games. So nothing you can really do about that, because the way that Legend feels for you is not the way Legend feels for the average player. So you can't really say that necessarily. I don't think it's an issue with the mode. Leaderboards, rating changes, yeah. Yeah, so Frosty is on his leaderboard and Cougs, but they're apparently not in the same bracket. I don't know how true that is, because a lot of times you can't even scroll through the entire leaderboard. Not everybody in your bracket has either played games, or sometimes they'll just stop at like a random number, like 28. So I don't know. The leaderboards are kind of janky. Again, I don't think it's the end of the world, just because the actual rewards for finishing in the top of your group aren't the craziest. People are matching with people very far away. Kind of said that. Needs to be measures to combat tanking. Doesn't want players to stop playing after they hit their highest rating. But maybe if you start D-ranking after you fall down 2 tiers. I don't know. I think you just lock people in their division, and that's just what it is off current rating. Okay, yeah. So I alluded to this with the Correa and Kluber. Mills doesn't think that Kluber and Correa are that crazy. He said that they're really good for 89s, but he thinks they should be worth more. I don't really agree with that, because you're handing them out to like 700 players as well. Do you really want them to be like 100, 200K, and like the Immortal players get them on their first win? So I don't know. I think like 20, 30, 40K, and they're some of the best cards at their position, is pretty solid. But he says, all being said, still had a great time. And then he includes a video of him lining out, because of course that's how the game is. So he enjoyed the mode. Some issues, but nothing too crazy. And then we got the GOAT here. Kreiner said, great idea, great mode, but the format sucks. Rewarding players for being right at 1,000 to play worse rated players. So this is just like him saying that you don't match with people in your group, so the lower you are, so like 1,000 Immortal player has more of an advantage over like a guy like Frosty. Just because Frosty has to wait for his rating window to go down to get players, so he's almost always going to get somebody like 1,300, 1,200, 1,100 towards the top of that division, whereas the 1,000 player can match with guys that are like 700, 800 rated occasionally. It's a very small thing. I think it only applies to like him and Frosty, so I wouldn't put a ton of weight into it. Comp players love to kind of overblow their own stuff and pretend like it's a problem for everybody. It is a problem, but it affects such a small percentage of the player base that I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. So he's saying there should be like a higher tier of like Immortal and the lower tier of Immortal. I don't think SCS expected anybody to be 1700 rating when they made the divisions. So I don't know about that. And then he complains about the tanking, which I think is the biggest problem with the mode. It's not even really smurfing. Smurfing implies making a new account, but it's just, yeah, you're just tanking your rating so you get easier games for better rewards. Definitely the move. Like, if you wanted to get your 6-0 Immortal banner, the move would have been to tank all your elo and just sit here and play all-star players and mercy them. And the only way you'd lose is if you found somebody else who was tanking. So hopefully they do something to combat that in the future. But you can see, overall, I feel like the community outlook is hopeful for once, which is kind of crazy. I think it is the best thing that SCS has. A lot of complaining, right? A lot of issues with the mode, but I think it's still the best thing that has ever happened to Diamond Dynasty. I think we needed a competitive outlet like this. Ranked is cool, but ranked would be like if the MLB just played a regular season and then whoever was top of their division just won by default. There was no playoffs. It's nice to have like a playoffs atmosphere where every game matters. And I think that's what Weekend Classic does really well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, let me know your opinions on the mode. Till next time, peace.